Stay connected to this channel because we have so many mad updates about the entertainment, and more hidden stories and truth facts will be shared. Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people, and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. Stay informed. Some of the political victims are government officials, spouses. 1. Faisal Evi, the head of Pakistan's biggest charity organization, Evi Foundation, and the son of the world-renowned philanthropist late Abdul Sattar Evi, has been tested positive for the coronavirus. 2. Asad Kaiser, Pakistan's parliament speaker, said he had tested positive for COVID-19 on May 1 after hosting an iftar dinner to celebrate Ramadan. 3. Carmen Calvo, Spain's deputy prime minister, tested positive for coronavirus on March 25, the Spanish government said. 4. Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales and heir to the British throne, tested positive for the coronavirus on March 25. The 71-year-old is displaying mild symptoms but otherwise remains in good health, said a spokesman for the Clarence House royal residence, adding that he was self-isolating at a royal estate in Scotland. Prince Charles's wife, Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, has also been tested but does not have the virus. 5. Abba Kyari, the Nigerian president's chief of staff, has tested positive for coronavirus, a source with direct knowledge of the matter said on March 24. In his 70s, Kyari is an important figure in President Muhammadu Buhari's government. 6. Rand Paul, the Republican from Kentucky, is the first U.S. senator to test positive for coronavirus. 7. Prince Albert, Monaco's Prince Albert II, has tested positive for the novel coronavirus, the principality said in a statement on Thursday, adding there were no concerns for his health and that the titular head of the Mediterranean enclave is continuing to work from his private apartments at the Royal Palace. 8. Michel Barnier, the European Union's chief Brexit negotiator, said in a tweet that he has tested positive for the virus. 9. Bento Albuquerque, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro, said on Wednesday that Mines and Energy Minister Bento Albuquerque has tested positive for coronavirus, the second cabinet member to be infected. 10. Augusto Heleno, Brazil's national security advisor, said on March 18 on his Twitter account that he has tested positive for coronavirus, though he did not have any symptoms. Heleno, 72, a retired army general and one of Bolsonaro's closest aides, said he is currently under isolation at his home while waiting for a second test. 11. Jeremy Issacharoff, Israel's ambassador to Germany, has tested positive for the coronavirus, the Israeli Foreign Ministry said in a statement March 17. Issacharoff was reported to have contracted the virus following a meeting with a deputy from the Federal Assembly of Germany, whose name was not mentioned. 12. Friedrich Merz, the 64-year-old politician, who has been campaigning to lead Germany's Christian Democratic Union, CDU, at a Congress planned for this year, said on Twitter on March 17 that he tested positive for coronavirus and was under self-isolation at home. 13. Kozo Tashima, the head of Japan's Football Association, tested positive for the virus on March 17. Tashima is also deputy head of Japan's Olympic Committee. 14. Nadine Dorries, a minister in the UK's health department, was the first British politician to test positive on March 10. 15. Peter Dutton, the Australian Home Affairs Minister, was placed in isolation in hospital after contracting the virus. 16. Masouma Etekar, the Iranian vice president, is the country's highest government official to be infected, while several other senior officials in the country, including Iraj Harichi, Iran's deputy health minister, were also stricken. Iran is the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in the Middle East. 17. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, on March 12, the wife of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tested positive for COVID-19 following a trip to the United Kingdom. Gregoire Trudeau said she planned to remain in isolation for the next 2 weeks, together with her husband. Her symptoms have been described as mild. 18. Begoña Gómez, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's wife tested positive, officials in his office said late on Saturday. While Begoña Gómez tested positive, the health of both she and the Prime Minister was fine, the officials said. Spain said it would place the entire country under lockdown as the number of diagnosed cases exceeded 6,000. 19. Quim Torra, the local leader of Spain's Catalonia region, said on March 16 that he had tested positive for the coronavirus and that he was going into self-isolation in a government building. 20. Pere Aragonès, the Catalan deputy head of government, announced on March 15 that he had also tested positive for coronavirus. 21. Irene Montero, the Spanish minister, tested positive on March 15 and has been put in isolation along with her partner, Deputy Prime Minister Pablo Iglesias. 22. Frank Riester, earlier this week, the French Minister of Culture, said he was staying at his home in Paris after contracting the virus. France has also imposed a partial lockdown to check the spread of COVID-19. 23. Francis Suarez, the mayor of the U.S. city of Miami, confirmed, on March 13, that he has contracted COVID-19. 24. Fabio Wajngarten, the press secretary for Brazilian President Bolsonaro, tested positive after he returned from a U.S. trip where he met, among others, U.S. President Trump, who later tested negative. 25. Michael Woś, Poland's environment minister, has tested positive for coronavirus, he said in a tweet on March 16. 26. Oumara Ideni, Burkina Faso's Minister of Mines, has tested positive. 27. Stanislas Waro, Burkina Faso's Minister of Education, is confirmed to have COVID-19. 28. Simeon Sawadogo, Burkina Faso's Interior Minister, has the new coronavirus. 29. Alpha Berry, Burkina Faso's Foreign Minister, tested positive for COVID-19, he said on Twitter on March 20. 30. Boris Johnson, the 55-year-old Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, said on March 27 that he tested positive for coronavirus and was self-isolating. He was hospitalized on April 5 in what his office described as a precautionary step. Johnson was moved to the intensive care unit on April 6 after his symptoms worsened, and asked Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab to deputize for him where necessary. 31. Matthew Hancock, Britain's Health Secretary Matthew Hancock, announced on March 27 he tested positive for the coronavirus. Hancock said he would be self-isolating and working from home. 32. Alistair Jack, Scottish Secretary and member of British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's cabinet, has developed symptoms of COVID-19. 33. Sai Makinda, Nigeria's Oyo State Governor, has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. 34. Yaakov Litzman, Israel's health minister, and his wife tested positive for the novel coronavirus on April 1. 35. Ali Larijani, Iran's parliament, said on April 2 its speaker tested positive for the coronavirus and is in quarantine. 36. Zoranzav and Hristijan Mikoski, on April 10 the leaders of North Macedonia's two biggest parties were ordered to self-isolate for 2 weeks after being interviewed by a TV reporter infected with coronavirus. 37. Khalif Mumin Tohau, the Justice Minister of Somalia's autonomous Hirshabelle state, died on April 12 after contracting the coronavirus. Tohau died in Mogadishu's Martini Hospital a day after he tested positive for COVID-19 in the town of Jowhar, the administrative capital of Hirshabelle. 38. Sekou Kuruma, the Secretary General of Guinea and a former minister, died from COVID-19 in Conakry on April 18. 39. Nuno Gomes Nabiam, Guinea-Bissau's Prime Minister, has tested positive for the novel coronavirus alongside 3 members of his cabinet, the West African country's health ministry said on April 29. 40. Mikhail Mishustin, Russia's prime minister, on April 30 said in a video meeting with President Vladimir Putin that he tested positive for coronavirus and will self-isolate to protect other cabinet members. Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people, and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. The best way to prevent and slow down transmission is be well informed about the COVID-19 virus, the disease it causes and how it spreads. Protect yourself and others from infection by washing your hands or using an alcohol-based rub frequently and not touching your face. The COVID-19 virus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs or sneezes, so it's important that you also practice respiratory etiquette, for example, by coughing into a flexed elbow. At this time, there are no specific vaccines or treatments for COVID-19. However, there are many ongoing clinical trials evaluating potential treatments. WHO will continue to provide updated information as soon as clinical findings become available. Stay informed. Prevention. To prevent infection and to slow transmission of COVID-19, do the following. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water, or clean them with alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between you and people coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you feel unwell. Refrain from smoking and other activities that weaken the lungs. Practice physical distancing by avoiding unnecessary travel and staying away from large groups of people. Symptoms. COVID-19 affects different people in different ways. Most infected people will develop mild to moderate illness and recover without hospitalization. Most common symptoms: fever, dry cough, tiredness. Less common symptoms: aches and pains, sore throat, diarrhea, conjunctivitis, headache, loss of taste or smell, a rash on skin, or discoloration of fingers or toes. Serious symptoms: difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, loss of speech or movement. Seek immediate medical attention if you have serious symptoms. Always call before visiting your doctor or health facility. People with mild symptoms who are otherwise healthy should manage their symptoms at home. On average, it takes 5-6 days from when someone is infected with the virus for symptoms to show, however it can take up to 14 days. Thanks for viewing. Hit the subscribe button for new updates and movies trailers. Mad Ride Ent.